What's going on, family? TSpeaks here, and let's get started. Got a wonderful session of how to find your husband. This is where I speak to my sisters and kind of give pointers and clues and tips as to how to be found by your husband, how to set yourself aside, how to actually identify someone is going to be your husband. And I think there are clues. When you first meet someone, they drop all kind of clues, the things that they say, how they act. So I get on and I'm helping you all the best that I can in hopes of we can get two people off of one side of the street, the other side of the street, to come together, meet in the middle in matrimony. And here's the thing. Many people are married, but you want to have a happy marriage. You want to be happily married. That's the key. How to find a husband. So I got on, and this came directly from conversations that I've had with multiple women. A lot of you know that I get a lot of content. Sometimes people ask me questions and it'll start a conversation. Other times I get something from God. Other times I just observe and I recognize within myself, you know what, this is what I'm looking for. I speak to a lot of men, speak to a lot of women. One of the key things that I want to discuss with my sisters, a very casual conversation. Matter of fact, if some of my sisters want to actually get on and maybe speak and share some words, feel free. Definitely, guys, share this out. I need you to share this out. I need you to like and follow the YouTube channel, TSpeaks Live. All the whole messages are there. More content is there. Definitely go over to YouTube, like the channel, follow it. I definitely appreciate it. We're trying to get these words to be worldwide. How to find a husband. One of the key things, and a lot of sisters, I know I'm going to get a lot of flack from this because a lot of women don't necessarily agree. They're not going to agree with what I'm saying. However, I know that it is right. In order to find a husband, you have to stop trying to marry your father. I'm going to say that again. In order to have a husband, to find your husband, or to be found actually by your husband, you have to stop looking to marry your father. Shout out to all of the fathers who actually raised their kids, stayed in the household. And I'm not talking about necessarily have to be biological. I'm talking about the fathers that actually just decide to come into a woman's life, marry the mother, legitimize her, and actually raise the child as his own. Many men are doing that. Don't believe the hype when social media and the news channels and everything want to say that men don't stay around, men don't raise their kids. I know brothers who actually are raising their kids despite the effects that the wives and the children's mothers have had on them. But here's the thing. A lot of women looked at their fathers growing up and said, I want a husband like him. I want my dad to be, because I mean, truth be told, a little girl's first boyfriend is her dad, just like a little boy's girlfriend is his mother. However, you cannot look to marry your dad. You look to find a man that's just like your dad because you saw the qualities that your dad had, raised you, took you out, did this, and was there for you when you needed him. Except this is the biggest thing about trying to marry your dad. You're not your mom. You are not your mother. You are you. And it's unfair for you to actually tell a man that is courting you. And shout out, I put a post up earlier. There is a difference between chasing and pursuing a woman. A man that's pursuing you, for you to say, you're not doing this, my father used to. First of all, you're really dishonoring the man that's in front of you because you are actually comparing him to another man. Your father may have been great. I'm not saying that he wasn't. Shout out to all the men, like I said, who stayed, took care of his family, move him into another neighborhood, gave him a great big house. Whatever the case may be, he did his job according to a man from what he thought he should do, and he did it. Kudos to him. But like I said, the only difference is, the biggest difference, you are not your mom. And the man that's in your life that's going to marry you will not be your father. And for you to compare him, it's the same thing if that man tells you, why don't you cook eggs like this? That's the way my mama did. I don't understand. My mama did all the clothes and cleaned and everything else. And you would automatically, what's the first words? And I've heard this said many times before. The first thing that most women would say, over 90%, I'm not your mother. Well, and that is true. He can't look for his mother, but you can't look for your father either. What you do is you consider the man that's in front of you. You consider the ideology of what a man is, perhaps given to you from your father. You consider what you consider to be good qualities of a man that you saw maybe in your father. But that man has his own personality. That man has his own way of doing things. For example, your father may have actually let your mother be a stay-at-home wife. That's one of the key things. Stay-at-home wife, he took care of all the bills. Yep. You don't know if your father had enough confidence in your mother to take care of bills, to actually go out there and work. You don't know literally what your father was making. Maybe he wasn't making a lot, but he could have decided, you know what? These kids, no one else around, no support system, better off with their mother. Or maybe he just said, you know what? I need to be out this house away from my wife and these kids for a nice amount of hours. Let me go get 2 jobs. I'll take care of it, honey. You stay there. What I'm trying to suggest is you don't know the dynamics to why your father and your mother were married, how they stayed married. You will never have an inside perspective as a daughter, what it was to be that man's wife. You saw it from afar, even if it was literally from one room to the next. You did not see it from inside. You didn't have pillow talk with them. You don't know what issues they went through. And you can't tell me your mother and your father never had issues, because everyone always has issues. They may have never presented them to you. Your mother may have taken the quiet road and never let your father get to her in front of you. Your mother may have not decided to step up and have an argument or go toe to toe with him because of his opinions. You don't know how your mother was raised that made her ideal to be with your father. You don't know. And I'm not going to say this is a disrespectful thing. You don't know what really your father was made of. Yes, hard worker, yes. Provider, yes. But you don't know everything about him because you were only his daughter. You were only his daughter. And for you to look for your husband to be like your father, do you know what that is for a man? And I'm quite sure you don't. For a man to feel like a woman has placed him in the shadows of another man, there is no greater disrespect. There is no more dishonor than that. Because what you fail to do is recognize that man as a man. It's almost like being in the bed with your husband and calling out your ex name or someone else that he knows about, calling out their name while you're in the bed with them. It's the same type of disrespect. And what you're not doing is you're not allowing your husband to be, he's like this. You don't see him instead of like this. This is who I am. So are you going to fall in love with your husband or the man that's going to be your husband? Or are you going to fall in love with your father? You can't marry your father. Your mother already did that. And I guarantee you don't have every quality that your mother has or had. Talking to a young lady, mother was a great cook. She has problems boiling water. Automatically, the dynamics change. You want your father who came home every night to a warm meal. You want your husband to look like and be like your father, but he automatically is not getting what your father got, a hot meal. Instead, he's getting a menu thrown at him, and you saying, listen, we're going to go do this. I'm going to order the food. Don't worry about it. I'll put it on plates. So what I'm saying is everybody is entitled to be an individual. There are certain similarities. If you look at all men, particularly the men that I'm connected to, or just men in general, men, there are certain qualities that are going to be present in every man. But then there are characteristics that make us different, always different. And for me to ever be considered like someone else, my only answer would be, okay, go be with that person. Because it's obvious you don't accept me for me. And that's what it is. It is almost a rejection when a woman goes about telling a man, you're not like my father. My father used to do this. My father used to do that. And I'm telling you, that is not the way to get a husband. You can have a thought in your head as to what you saw your father do, and you can desire to have some of those qualities, shown toward you. But ultimately, the man that comes to be your husband may be different. Let's face it. Your father's name is Melvin. The man that's going to marry you, name is Barry. Totally different people. Your father was a Libra. Your new husband is going to be a Cancer. Totally different people. Some similarities. Character, different. You don't know what your father went through as far as pressure as opposed to your husband. Your husband may actually walk out and be yelled at every single day at his place of business, but he stays, or disrespected some kind of way, or knows that he's a token Negro and he actually goes through that every day. You don't know what is going to pressure him. Was there times when, yes, when I'm sure your father went through racism, wherever in the world he was? Absolutely. Things have changed so much. You don't know what pressures your husband will be walking with. You don't even know your husband's background and makeup. Because face it, somebody that had a father right now that's about 60, 70 years old, 75, 80, whatever, at least 60 and better, your father most likely grew up with other siblings, brothers, all of that. Maybe stable environment, maybe not. But you don't necessarily know the dynamics with your husband may be completely different. He has one sister, she's estranged. She doesn't even show up anymore. He has a brother, but they're not close. They didn't grow up close. The brother was wayward, went out crazy, so he didn't grow up with that connection. He didn't grow up knowing, being able to be socially exclusive. Instead, he's an extrovert to an extent. Knows that he wants a wife. And what I'm saying is, you don't know what ingredients that are going to make your husband who he is. But it doesn't have to be bad ingredients because he doesn't have the same things your father does. You can't marry your father. Your mother already took care of that. Marry a good man. A good man. And I'm going to say this. Try your best not to compare him to another man, even your father. No man likes to hear that, just like no woman does. Think about if you heard a man that you were with getting ready to marry you always tell you about how good his ex was. Come on, be real. The next thing you would say is, well, why aren't you with her? Well, you need to go be with her. And it's the truth. If she was that great, then you should go marry her. But if your father was that great, you can departmentalize that and go, I had a great father. He made you a balanced woman. He made you a woman that knows your worth. Those are excellent qualities. That's wonderful to pass on to your daughter. But for you to say, I'm going to get a man to be exactly with me like how my father was with the mother, you're not your mother. You can never have that equation. It'll never fit right. And you might be messing yourself up and going to prolong your marriage because of the way that you view men through the lens of who your father was. Not fair. So I got on to say, if you want to find a husband, then stop looking for your daddy. Stop looking for your daddy. It's time for us to say, okay, that man was that man. He ran his house that way. His wife had a temperament where she never said anything wrong. She never said anything bad. You can do that. That's fine. But you'll get loud. You'll walk out. You'll take the keys to your car and go. Women back in the 60s and the 50s did not do that. So you will not be able to duplicate what your mother gave your father. And therefore, you probably won't have what your father gave your mother. Am I saying accept less? No. What I'm saying is there is a difference. And no man wants to be compared to any man. You always esteem your father so high in a man's hearing. Sooner or later, that's going to annoy him because, like I said, you're not seeing him for who he is and loving him for him. You loving him because he reminds you of your father. And I know, yes, that's another whole message, women with daddy issues. But every man deserves to be considered his own man. I'm not talking about a male, but every man deserves to be seen as his own man. You want to find a husband? Stop looking for your daddy. That's it, family. I'll see you guys soon. Remember, I believe in you, and you can do this. It may take an effort. It may be something you have to shift, but the goal is to find a husband. So make whatever changes, whatever adjustments you have to without compromising who you are, the good part of you. But maybe your focus needs to change and shift a little bit. TSpeaks, we can do it.